So, sports, right? We watch and it looks so easy for these athletes, but it often places abnormal stresses on competitors, support staff, everybody involved. But what can be done to help these individuals maintain mental motivation? Licensed, applied, organizational sports psychologist, Dr. Olivia Rose, that was a sprint in itself, joins us now to shed some light on this in her pretty yellow frock, which she's going to leave with me when the interview is over, and also her smiley shoes. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for being here. I'm so glad we're talking about this because at one point it was something we never spoke about, and then we started talking about it, but I don't know if we talk about it enough. You know, and as Jamaicans who love sports, this is something that we need to delve into, because we are the best of ourselves when our athletes do well, and then when our athletes don't do well or do less than we expected, we give them a hard time. You've worked with athletes. How frightening a job is this for them daily, much less when they reach a meet?
Daily, it's good because that's like a normal stressor. They know what is required of them. So the daily routine, and it's a very insulated world, you know exactly what you have to do when you're supposed to do it, you know exactly what you're preparing for and so on. And sometimes it's a 4 years preparation, and so it takes a toll, but the daily part of it is not the difficult part.
Yes.
The difficult part now is after they have competed, put so much energy and time and preparation, sacrifices, time away from family and friends, and then they don't achieve the goal on the day or at the events that it matter the most. And that's the crucial part.
And that's a lot of what should you call it now? You know, they're quarreling with themselves internally. And then
So
they
the
have
cognitive appraisal of that is, especially the internal one, is like, oh my gosh, how could I have not done this? And I've been checking the boxes, I've been doing everything correctly, so what's happening? And this is where the depressive symptoms can kick in, because again, I've always said, and I will continue to say, especially to the Jamaican public, believe me, you don't want to win more than an athlete who goes out there to represent the country. And so sometimes just listening at various places to hear the comments that are made, especially if somebody should place 8th in a race or a team didn't win, they are already processing it in a very bad way sometimes.
Oh, it's a spoil because you're 8th you're the best of the best.
Correct. So you're 8th in the world, but we don't comprehend, based on our culture of winning and how we try very, very hard to avoid shame and embarrassment. You know, I remember one lady said she feel like she should have fling with her TV, and this was somebody who had placed 8th. And I know that that's not the sentiment of just that person alone, because that's how we respond. And even sometimes I find myself in fan mode. When I'm in fan mode, I am different from when I'm in sports psychology mode. So I understand the culture, but we need to be way more understanding. And the comments that we make, especially after athletes have competed.
Yeah, that's why social media.
Yes, especially on social media.
Coming off social media because it's so, we need to be more empathetic.
Very much so. More empathetic, more considerate, more kind to just each other, because, like I said, you don't want to achieve that goal more than they do.
Correct.
And it's a lot of preparation that they would have put in, and when they come back, they even those who have medaled, by the way, they can experience depressive symptoms because it's coming from such a height and a huge emotional drop that happens suddenly. So you probably knew what you were going to do every day for the next 4 days, and some people are facing retirement and so many other things in their career. So
you know, we don't think about all these things, but
by the way, including the support staff.
Right.
Which include the sports journalists, which include the sports psychologists, the physiotherapists, the coach. You know, that's why many of us did not handle COVID initially very well, because we're used to always up and down and so on. So we really need to be more considerate, more compassionate. I know that one thing I know is that, especially based on research that I'm completing, is that the Jamaican people there are more friendly and welcoming to the junior athletes. And this is where it becomes a shocker now when these same junior athletes become senior athletes. They are so surprised at the comments that they now receive for not medaling or for not coming first and so on.
All right, so let's talk about some of these signs of depression in athletes. Poor performances is one. Fatigue, illness, injury, failing to recover. when an athlete starts to show decreased interest in activities. Talk us through that.
Okay, so decreased interest in activities vary from just wanting to rest and recover to really, I don't know why I'm bothering to do this. And it's the natural course of depressive symptoms, withdrawal, not feeling to get up out of the bed and so on, don't want to be around people. The regular routine is disrupted. So we're encouraging family members and friends and journalists too. I know sometimes you need a story, but please be mindful of how this impacts somebody's mental health.
Wow. Yeah. Withdrawal from social contact, change in personality or habits, more irritable, changing sleeping or eating habits, problems concentrating, some turn to alcohol abuse. I'm reading through them, but I want you to tell me how you are able to get somebody out of this space, because depression is such a difficult thing for regular folk who are not performing in front of the world with the expectations of a nation on their shoulder. So Olivia, how do you get an athlete to move from that place of, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to train today, I'm done, what people are going to say, to go line up and run them best, throw them best,
You know, I'm glad you asked that question, because first of all, it's a process. And there are days when even the coach, myself, and so many other people don't know what it is that we're going to do. But once the athlete gives us some form of signal, and sometimes there's no signal that they need help, because some athletes are very good, just like human beings. Like, you know, people always ask me if athletes are human beings. Yes, they are. And yes, they experience depressive symptoms just like you and I, and they have families and friends and just other goals outside of sport too that's just not working out. And then because of how short-lived the career is, there are a lot of anxiety around what am I going to do next. So it's a combination of techniques that we use to help the athlete to come out of that rut, and it's a whole host of support staff that has to be helping this one athlete to get over the hurdle. And that's why we're asking for persons to be just a little bit more considerate and compassionate. We're not saying here to welcome underperformance and make excuses, because that's why they have mental coach and mental toughness, but we're just asking that when goals are not achieved or attained, especially after representing your country at the highest level, just think twice before you make that post and just try to be a little bit more considerate.
Final question, because we have to go. These young athletes that you mentioned coming up, they're getting a lot of support. People are talking about, especially the ladies, doing so well. The future of sprinting is safe, and so. Are these young ladies, are these young athletes getting the OM news? The respect, the counseling they deserve? I guess you have to come back and tell us another time.
Yeah,
After later
thank
groundwork,
you.
though, is the point
Thank you so much for having me.
Go to news. Thank you so much. Licensed, applied, organizational sports psychologist, Dr. Olivia Rose. News in 5 is next, everybody. Wish we had more time, but we have to go to news. Thank you so much.